Check out this gnarly thing. This is a piece of rosewood that was on a fire. It's pretty gross. It's got all kinds of splits in it. I'm gonna turn this into something nice. So what I'm thinking is maybe like a serving board, you know, for like cheeses, all your fancy cheeses, those cheeses that you can't really afford, but you're buying them anyway with a knife. So let's try to turn this into that. I'm thinking that this serving board's gonna have a tray that slides out from underneath. I'm gonna have to cut my base in 3 pieces. But before that, I wanna make sure that I've got some continuous grain, or as close as I can get it, down both sides. So I'm gonna cut strips off of both sides, set them off to the side, do my thing, and then put those back on, and that should give me the look I'm looking for. I mean, it makes sense, right? The look that you're looking for. I don't get to use my dado stack too often, but this is the perfect opportunity because I need to cut a giant dado or channel or a big hole right in the dead center of this. Now to make sure that it is absolutely centered, I got my stop block here. I'm gonna make a pass. I'm gonna rotate my workpiece around and then I'm gonna cut it again. Then I know it is absolutely in the center. And I'm gonna keep doing that until I get it to the length or the width that I'm looking for. This wood is really dense. So to alleviate a little bit of pressure off that blade, I'm gonna make this in multiple cuts. So I'm gonna raise the blade up about half the thickness of the workpiece, make my cuts, and then raise it up to its final height, and then finish the whole thing off. Before I make my final pass, I don't wanna have any sort of tear out, so I'm just gonna put some blue tape on here first to make sure I put tape on both sides and then on both edges. It's gonna help a little bit. I'll take whatever help I can get with this. I'm gonna glue my edges back on and then that's gonna give me my tray, but I figure it's much easier to sand this now than whenever I put these on there. While that's drying, I can figure out the top. And I want it to look really nice and I want it to be contrasting. So I'm thinking some maple, particularly some figured maple. I'm going through some random offcuts I have, see if I can find the right piece. And I don't know. Again, it needs to be the right piece for this. You're gonna see it's the top. The tray has to be able to slide out. Well, how do we do that? I'm thinking rabbet joints. So I'm gonna take my whole base here and I'm gonna cut it into 3 pieces. Then I'm gonna cut some rabbet joints on the ends and voila, we're gonna have a tray that slides out. Well, I mean, we have to do some other things first too, but ultimately, voila, we'll have a tray that slides out. The tray fits okay. I like the way it looks. It needs something else. I don't like it just sitting there on the table like this. So maybe it needs a base or a stand. I'm gonna try to raise it up just a little bit. just enough that I can get kind of a shadow around the perimeter there, give it a little bit of a visual interest. I'm just gonna cut up some boards and we're gonna see what happens. Cut away some material from the middle. That's just to give a little gap between the drawer and the base so it pulls out easier. Now I'm gonna glue this to the bottom to make sure it's all lined up perfectly because I want it all centered, right? So you're trying to measure like here and here and here and get it all centered. Instead, I took some sticks and some double-sided tape, stuck those to the bottom. Now I could just put some glue on this, drop it in place, clamp it, I'm good. Once it's all set up, I like where it is, just rip those sticks off, let it dry. I really like how the stand turned out. Now this needs one extra thing before we can put finish on it, and that is some organization. You got the tray here, I could put all kinds of stuff in there. Cool little knives, but they're just gonna, what I'm gonna do is make a template for the knives and head over to the scroll saw. Just cut out the profile for those handles so they fit in there. They don't need to be super tight fitting, they just need to have some sort of organization so these things don't just go willy-nilly all over the place. I applied a little bit of butcher block oil to it, brings out some of that figure, and it's food safe. So at this point, I could call it done, but I think I should add just one more thing, which is some silicone. This is like a non-skid type of mat. So I actually put some blue tape on here for the base, just so I didn't get any oil on it. I guess I could have put this on before I put the finish on, but either way, doesn't matter. But this goes right on the bottom like this, and that's gonna help it. So whenever you're pulling that drawer out, it doesn't slide all around the table and stuff. Not bad for some charred wood. I like the contrast. I like having that figured maple on top of the rosewood. I don't typically use this combination, but I'm digging it. I could use just about any knife for this thing, but I like those little knives and I like that organizer. It took a little time to make it, but it was totally worth it. Let me give a shout out to the Super O community over on Patreon for allowing me to make videos like this, and to meet again, get in your shop and build something awesome.